Hello. So part two, basically we've redone the condensation lines. I've talked about that before, going down to a pump. And basically what we're doing is to prevent zoo algae. So we've taken a copper piece of wire, just a simple wire that goes to electrical wiring. We've taken a piece, we ran it through the dips, which is very important because that's where your zoo algae is going to build up, is in those two spots. Then we're also going to run another piece that's going to go down and end up in the drain, end up in the pan itself, because the pan is also where your zoo algae builds up. If you watch a lot of the YouTube videos, you will see basically they are simply just dealing with the condensation lines. They're not dealing with the pan. The pan issue needs to be resolved. So by putting pieces of copper in the pan, you are killing the bacteria that lives in the pan, because the pan is always wet and it rises up into the condensation lines. And of course, this is your secondary, which has the shutoff. And the primaries are lower down. I have two primaries because I don't want any backups anymore. I've had enough of those. Did a nice curve, dropped it down to the pump. That's why I've never had a problem with my pump return going to the drain, because it's copper. I've never had a problem with that line plugging up with zoo algae because it's copper. So even though this is always pressurized with water coming from the attic all the way down, because the pump is pumping, and when the pump stops, it stops, but it's still holding water all year round in that line, but that line is copper. Therefore, zoo algae never builds up in it. I never have a problem. So dealing with this, I've taken the copper, I've twisted it around so it won't get lost, so I could easily pull it out. The very important thing about this, if you're doing this, do not let this rest against the fins inside, because the vibrations of the fins can cause a leak in your Freon and cause you to have to replace the entire cooling unit. The evaporator, I guess is what they would call it inside. So pulling it out a little bit, getting it so it's not going to go anywhere. This piece here is going to come up, and I've got another piece because obviously we have to have our air intake to make sure that we don't have any foul odors and stuff coming up from the pump itself, or bringing in fresh air if anything gets sucked in at all. You have your traps, that's what prevents smell from getting into your unit, but this will also help. So by turning this and putting it up through here, turning this and putting it up through here, I'm keeping it off the evaporator, and I'm able to keep the wire from moving. That's very, very important. But by simply putting a copper rod wire through, you should prevent your zoo algae for life. I don't believe you should have a problem. Any of you guys in the Florida area that try this, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know if this works out as a permanent fix. I've heard of taking copper tubing, smashing it down and putting it in, but I'd have to remove one of these lines to get it in there because this is all sealed. So this is my easiest choice to do, but if you're pulling things apart, drop a piece of copper piping in there that's been smashed down so it won't roll around and stuff like that or get in the way. I highly recommend it. For cleaning my unit, I bought these nice little pack. They come from Amazon, little 3-pack. Stick these in there. Shoot, 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 shoot. Goes all the way in, dude. Comes all the way back out. Oop. Brought some water out with that, but so use a towel. But you can see the length is perfect. I can go this way with my tubing, with my cleaning if I need to. I should have put the clean out up here. It would have been easier to clean out, but I could clean from the bottom up. It's not a problem, but be sure you brush your unit out before installing the copper rods just to get an idea. That's all I got for you guys. Let me know if you're trying it in a very damp environment and this is working for you. I'd love to hear it. Thank you.